They thought I was sleeping. 2 months ago, my intelligence director walks into my office, middle of the day, face pale, hands shaking. He says, "Mr. President, we intercepted something. You need to see this now." I said, "Show me." He opens his laptop, plays audio, American accents, discussing operational timelines, military units, my assassination. They're planning a coup against me in my own capital. I listened to 47 minutes, every detail, name, timeline, and by minute 30 I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm letting them continue, letting them plan, recruit, and when they're ready to strike, I'm destroying them. I look at him, I said, "How deep?" He pulls out a folder, photographs, documents, bank transfers. CIA station chief in Accra running it, 3 officers in our capital, 15 local collaborators, 5 military officers compromised, $12 million budget, 6 weeks from now. I said, "Do they know we know?" "No, Mr. President, we intercepted without detection. They think they're secure." I said, "Good, keep watching, document everything, every meeting recorded, every payment tracked, collaborator identified. Don't move yet, let them build their network. Let them commit fully, believe they're succeeding." He looks confused. "Mr. President, if we wait." I cut him off. "They won't strike before I'm ready. I'm controlling the timeline. I'm feeding them information that makes them think they have time. And when they're fully committed, when they've exposed everyone, when they've spent their money and positioned their assets, that's when I strike. Listen to how CIA runs coups in Africa. Listen to the playbook they use in every country. Listen to the system they think we're too stupid to understand. Phase 1. They identify a leader they want removed, someone who doesn't follow orders, someone who prioritizes their country over American interests, someone like me. They assess vulnerabilities, political opposition they can exploit, military officers they can recruit, media outlets they can influence. Phase 2. They start recruiting. Quietly. They offer money. Lots of money. They offer visas, American citizenship for families. They offer protection. They offer power after the coup. They target military officers first. Colonels, generals, people with command authority, people who control troops. They target political opposition next. People who lost elections. People who want power. People willing to provide political cover. They target media last. Journalists who will frame the coup as popular uprising. Reporters who will call it democratic revolution. Phase 3. They develop operational plans. Which units move when, which buildings get seized, which officials get arrested, which communications get cut. They establish command structure. Who gives orders, who executes, who provides political cover. They set timeline, specific date, specific hour, coordinated action simultaneously. Phase 4. They strike. Usually at night. Usually during distraction. Military units move. Presidential palace surrounded. Government buildings seized. Key officials arrested. And within hours, they announce success. New government formed. Democracy restored. All the usual lies. That's the playbook. That's how they do it. That's how they've done it in dozens of African countries. But here's what they didn't know about me. Here's what they underestimated. Here's what destroyed their operation. I built my own intelligence network. Not the official one. Not the one they knew about. Not the one they tried to infiltrate. A parallel network, operating in shadows, reporting only to me, funded through channels they couldn't trace, staffed by people they didn't know existed, and that network was watching them from the beginning. When CIA station chief met military officer in Ouagadougou, my network was there, recording, photographing, documenting. When they transferred money to collaborators, my network tracked it. Every payment, every amount, every recipient. When they held planning meetings in safe houses, my network was listening. Through devices they never found, through sources they never suspected. I knew everything, every detail, every person, every plan. Week 1 after I learned about it, I start preparing my response, quietly, carefully, strategically. I identify every military officer involved, 5 colonels, 3 majors, 2 generals, all thinking they're going to be heroes, all thinking they're going to have power after I'm gone. I don't arrest them yet. I watch them. I let them recruit others. I let them hold meetings. I let them build their network. Because every person they recruit is another person I identify. Every meeting they hold is another meeting I record. Week 2. CIA increases activity. More meetings, more payments, more preparations. They're getting confident, getting excited, getting sloppy. One officer meets a collaborator in public restaurant, thinks nobody's watching. My network photographs everything, records the conversation, documents the payment. Another officer uses unsecured phone to call Accra, thinks the line is clean. My network intercepts every word. They're making mistakes, and I'm documenting all of them. Week 3. They set the date, November 15th, 3 a.m. When they think I'm sleeping, when they think security is minimal. My intelligence director brings me the intercepted communication. Mr. President, they've set the date. They're planning to surround the palace, arrest you. Install military government. I said, good. Now I know when to destroy them. Start preparing counter-operation. I want every conspirator arrested simultaneously, every CIA officer expelled, every piece of evidence released publicly, and I want it 48 hours before they plan to strike. He looked surprised. 48 hours before? Why not wait until they move? I said, I'm not giving them chance to adapt. I'm not risking them changing plans. I'm not allowing them to strike first. I'm hitting them when they think they still have time, when they're still preparing, when they're still vulnerable. Week 4. I start positioning my loyal forces. Quietly. Units I trust. Officers I vetted personally. Soldiers loyal to Burkina Faso, not to American dollars. I move them into position around every conspirator's location, around every safe house, around every meeting point, and the conspirators notice nothing, because they're watching the palace. They're watching my official security. They're not watching the shadows where my real forces are gathering. Week 5. CIA sends final payment. $12 million distributed among collaborators. Money to buy weapons. Money to pay soldiers. My network tracks every transaction, and I freeze them all. Through banks I control. Through financial systems they didn't know I could access. And they don't know yet, because the accounts still show the money. But when they try to withdraw it, they'll discover it's frozen. Week 6. November 13th. 2 days before their planned coup. 4 a.m. I strike. Simultaneous raids across Ouagadougou. Every conspirator's home, every safe house, every meeting location. My forces move fast, coordinated, precise, no warning, no negotiation, just arrest. 5 colonels arrested in their homes, 3 majors taken from offices, 2 generals seized at military bases, 15 civilian collaborators grabbed from safe houses, 3 CIA officers detained at residences, all within 30 minutes, all without a shot fired, all before they knew what was happening. And I'm watching from command center, live feeds from every location, seeing every arrest, hearing every communication, controlling every move. One colonel tries to resist, reaches for weapon. My forces disarm him in seconds, handcuff him, drag him out, his wife screaming, his children crying, his career ending. I feel nothing. He was going to kill me. He was going to overthrow my government. Now he pays. One CIA officer tries to claim diplomatic immunity, starts yelling about international law, about Vienna Convention, about consequences. My security chief says, "You're not a diplomat, you're a spy. Spies don't get immunity. You're under arrest for conspiracy to commit treason." They take him away, still yelling, still threatening, still thinking someone's going to save him. Nobody's coming. He's going to prison. By 5 a.m., every conspirator is in custody, every CIA officer detained, every safe house secured, every piece of evidence collected. The coup is over before it began. At 6 a.m., I address the nation, live broadcast, every channel, and I tell them what happened. Last night, I arrested 23 people for conspiracy to commit treason. They were planning a coup, funded by CIA, organized by American intelligence officers, scheduled for November 15th. I stopped them, I arrested them, and now I'm showing you exactly what they were planning. I display documents, operational plans, communication records, bank transfers, photographs of meetings, recordings of conversations. This is the CIA operational plan, detailed timeline for overthrowing Burkina Faso's government, military units to be moved, buildings to be seized, officials to be arrested, all planned, all documented, all stopped. I show bank records. This is $12 million transferred from CIA accounts to conspirators. Every payment tracked, every recipient identified, every dollar now frozen. I play audio recordings. This is CIA station chief in Accra giving instructions to local collaborators, discussing my assassination, planning the coup, coordinating the operation, all recorded, all evidence. I show photographs. These are meetings between CIA officers and military conspirators in Ouagadougou, in safe houses they thought were secure, all photographed, all documented, all proof. And I'm not done. The 3 CIA officers involved are being expelled immediately, 24 hours to leave Burkina Faso. The American ambassador is being summoned to explain why his embassy was running coup operations. If he can't explain, he's being expelled too. The military officers involved are being court-martialed, military tribunal for treason. If convicted, life imprisonment. No mercy, no deals. The civilian collaborators are being prosecuted, criminal trial for conspiracy to commit treason. If convicted, long prison sentences. And I'm releasing all evidence publicly, every document, every recording, every photograph, so the world can see exactly what CIA does in Africa, so other African leaders can see the methods, so everyone can understand how American intelligence operates. The broadcast lasts 90 minutes, every detail revealed, every conspirator named, every piece of evidence shown. American embassy issues statement, denies involvement, calls accusations baseless, demands release of detained officers, threatens consequences. I respond within an hour. I have recordings of your station chief planning the coup. I have bank transfers from your accounts funding conspirators. I have photographs of your officers meeting with traitors. That's not baseless. That's documented fact. Your officers are being expelled. Deal with it. African Union calls. Concerned about stability. Worried about regional implications. Suggesting quiet diplomacy. The call comes from the AU Commission chairperson. Diplomatic tone, careful language, but I hear the pressure underneath. President Traoré, we understand your concerns about sovereignty. We recognize the seriousness of these allegations, but we're worried about regional stability. We're concerned about escalation. We believe quiet diplomacy might be more effective than public confrontation. I said, quiet diplomacy? Let me understand this correctly. Foreign intelligence service plans to overthrow my government. They recruit my military officers. They pay $12 million to conspirators. They plan my assassination, and you want me to handle it quietly? Mr. President, we're simply suggesting that public exposure might damage important relationships, might create unnecessary tensions, might destabilize the region. I said, the region is already destabilized by coup attempts, by foreign interference, by intelligence operations. I'm not creating instability. I'm exposing it. I'm not damaging relationships. I'm revealing that those relationships were never real. They were control disguised as partnership. But Mr. President, the international implications. I cut him off. The international implications are clear. Africa is waking up. African leaders are learning that we can resist, that we can expose, that we can fight back. That's what worries you, not regional stability, but the example I'm setting. Because if other leaders follow my example, the whole system of control collapses. Silence on the line, long silence, because I said what everyone knows but nobody admits. Finally, he says, Mr. President, we're asking you to consider. I said, I've considered everything. I've made my decision. I'm exposing them. I'm showing Africa what they do to us. I'm teaching African leaders how to detect them. I'm proving that resistance is possible. That's not negotiable. That's not changeable. That's final. I hang up because I'm done explaining. I'm done justifying. I'm done defending my decision to defend my country. 3 hours later, AU issues public statement, carefully worded, diplomatically phrased, completely useless. The African Union notes the situation in Burkina Faso with concern. We call on all parties to exercise restraint. We encourage dialogue and peaceful resolution. We reaffirm our commitment to African sovereignty while recognizing the importance of international cooperation. Translation: we don't want to offend America. We don't want to support Traoré too strongly. We're trying to stay neutral while leaning toward the side with more power and money. I expected this. I'm not surprised. I'm not disappointed, because I know how AU works. I know the pressures they face. I know the compromises they make. But their neutrality is still betrayal. Because this isn't a dispute between equal parties. This is attempted coup versus legitimate government. This is foreign interference versus national sovereignty. This is crime versus law. There is no neutral position. You either support sovereignty or you enable interference. European Union issues statement. Calling for restraint. Urging dialogue. Expressing concern about detained Americans. The statement comes from EU High Representative, formal, official, completely predictable. The European Union is deeply concerned about the situation in Burkina Faso. We call for restraint from all parties. We urge dialogue to resolve differences peacefully. We express particular concern about detained American citizens and call for respect for diplomatic norms and international law. I respond through my foreign ministry. But the response is mine, every word. The European Union calls for restraint. Let me tell you about restraint. The CIA showed no restraint planning my assassination. They showed no restraint recruiting traitors in my military. They showed no restraint spending $12 million to overthrow my government. Where was EU's call for restraint then? Where was EU's concern for international law when foreign intelligence was violating my sovereignty? EU expresses concern about detained Americans. These Americans are not diplomats. They're intelligence officers. They're not detained for diplomatic activities. They're detained for coup plotting. They don't deserve diplomatic protection. They deserve prosecution. But I'm being generous. I'm expelling them instead of trying them. EU should thank me for restraint, not lecture me about it. EU urges dialogue. There's nothing to dialogue about. They committed crimes. I have evidence. They're being expelled. That's not a negotiating position. That's a legal consequence. If EU wants dialogue, they should dialogue with CIA about why CIA runs coup operations in sovereign African nations. The response is sharp, aggressive, undiplomatic. Exactly what I intended. Because I'm done with diplomatic language that hides truth. I'm done with careful wording that avoids clarity. I'm done with polite responses to hypocritical statements. They want to call for restraint? I'm showing them what restraint actually looks like. Restraint is expelling coup plotters instead of executing them. Restraint is closing embassy instead of declaring war. Restraint is releasing evidence instead of retaliating covertly. But EU doesn't see it that way. EU sees any resistance as unreasonable, any exposure as inflammatory, any defense of sovereignty as destabilizing. Because EU benefits from the system I'm challenging. EU profits from African dependence. EU maintains influence through the networks I'm exposing. My resistance threatens their interests. That's why they call for restraint. Not because they care about stability, but because they want to preserve control. Within hours, individual EU countries issue their own statements. Germany, France, Belgium, Netherlands, all saying essentially the same thing, all calling for de-escalation, all expressing concern, all pressuring me to back down. I ignore them all. Because their statements aren't about principles, they're about interests. They want me to stop exposing how Western intelligence operates in Africa. They want me to stop teaching other African leaders how to resist. They want me to stop proving that independence is possible. And I'm not stopping, I'm accelerating. United Nations sends envoy, wants to mediate, wants to de-escalate. The envoy arrives 3 days after my broadcast. Senior diplomat, experienced mediator, carefully neutral, professionally diplomatic. We meet in my office. Private, no media, no recordings, just conversation. He starts with pleasantries, compliments about Burkina Faso, appreciation for meeting him, hope for constructive dialogue. I let him finish. Then I said, let's be direct. Why are you here? He pauses, recalibrates, then says, President Traoré, the United Nations is concerned about escalating tensions. We believe this situation can be resolved through dialogue. We're prepared to facilitate discussions between Burkina Faso and the United States. We're ready to help find mutually acceptable solutions. I said, there's nothing to mediate. They committed crimes. I have proof. They're being expelled. What's there to discuss? Mr. President, we understand your position, but we believe there may be room for... I cut him off. Room for what? Room for compromise? Room for negotiation? Room for me to pretend this didn't happen in exchange for them promising not to do it again? He's quiet, measuring his words, then says, We believe there may be ways to address your concerns while also maintaining important relationships. I said, my concerns are simple. Foreign intelligence tried to overthrow my government. That's not a concern that can be addressed while maintaining relationships. That's a crime that requires consequences. The relationship is over. The consequences are happening. There's nothing to mediate. But Mr. President, surely there are broader interests to consider. Regional stability, economic development, international cooperation. These relationships serve important purposes beyond this incident. I said, these relationships serve one purpose: control. They loan us money to buy their products, then we owe them debt, then they use that debt to make demands. Then we comply to keep the money flowing. That's not cooperation, that's dependency, that's not partnership, that's control, and I'm breaking it. He tries different approach. Mr. President, we understand your frustration, but consider the practical implications. Burkina Faso benefits from international aid, from trade relationships, from security cooperation. Damaging these relationships could harm your people. I said, you know what harms my people? Having government that can be overthrown whenever foreign powers decide. Having leaders who can be assassinated when they don't obey. Having sovereignty that exists only as long as we comply. That harms my people far more than losing aid that comes with strings attached. He's running out of arguments. I can see it. He came expecting negotiation. He found determination. He came expecting compromise. He found conviction. Finally, he says, Mr. President, what would it take for you to reconsider your position? I said, nothing. There's nothing to reconsider. They committed crimes. I have proof. They're being expelled. End of discussion. But surely, I said, end of discussion. I appreciate UN's concern. I respect your role as mediator. But there's nothing to mediate. They tried to overthrow my government. I stopped them. I arrested them. I'm expelling them. That's not a negotiating position. That's a legal consequence. If UN wants to mediate something, mediate with CIA about why they run coup operations in sovereign nations. The meeting ends. He leaves, disappointed, unsuccessful, empty-handed. Within hours, UN issues statement, diplomatic, balanced, useless. The United Nations notes the situation in Burkina Faso. We encourage all parties to pursue peaceful dialogue. We reaffirm our commitment to sovereignty and international law. We stand ready to assist in finding constructive solutions. Translation: we tried to pressure Traoré to back down. He refused. We can't force him, so we're issuing statement that says nothing while pretending we're doing something. I expected this too. Because UN is not neutral arbiter. UN is tool of powerful nations. When powerful nations want something, UN supports it. When powerful nations oppose something, UN opposes it. UN's neutrality is fiction. UN's independence is illusion. But here's what nobody's saying publicly. Here's what I'm hearing through back channels. They're panicking. CIA headquarters in crisis mode. Station chiefs across Africa being recalled. Operations being reviewed. Because if I expose their operation in Burkina Faso, what else can I expose? What else do I know? My intelligence sources in Washington tell me everything. They tell me about emergency meetings at Langley, about panicked communications with African stations, about operations being suspended, about agents being extracted, about networks being shut down. Because I didn't just expose one operation, I exposed the methodology. I revealed the playbook. I showed exactly how they recruit, how they fund, how they plan, how they execute. And now every African intelligence service is looking for the same patterns. Every African leader is watching for the same signs. CIA spent decades building networks across Africa, recruiting officers, planting agents, establishing infrastructure, and I'm destroying it, not just in Burkina Faso, across the continent, because I'm teaching other leaders how to detect them, how to stop them, how to expose them. Station chief in Accra who ran my coup operation, recalled to Washington, under investigation, career destroyed, because he failed, because he got caught, because I exposed him. 3 CIA officers I expelled, interrogated by their own agency, questioned about operational security, blamed for exposure, punished for failure. Networks they built across West Africa, being dismantled, agents being pulled, operations being canceled, infrastructure being abandoned, because they can't trust it anymore. Because they don't know what I know, because they don't know who else I've identified. Budget for African operations? Being cut. Because failure is expensive. Because exposure is costly. Because investing in operations that get exposed and destroyed is waste of money. This is bigger than stopping one coup. This is disrupting entire system. This is forcing them to rethink how they operate in Africa. This is making them afraid. And fear is power. Fear changes behavior. Fear creates caution. Fear prevents action. They're afraid to run operations now. Afraid I'll detect them. Afraid I'll expose them. Afraid I'll teach other leaders how to stop them. That fear is protecting African sovereignty more effectively than any diplomatic agreement ever could. Other African leaders are calling me, privately, asking questions. How did I detect the plot? How did I build my intelligence network? Can I help them do the same? The calls come daily, sometimes multiple times per day. Presidents, prime ministers, intelligence chiefs, all asking the same questions, all wanting the same help. President from East Africa calls. Captain Traoré, I watched your address. I saw the evidence. I'm concerned we might have similar problems. Can you help me check? I said, yes, I can send team. They'll assess your security. They'll look for warning signs. They'll help you build protection. President from Central Africa calls. Captain Traoré, I want to build intelligence network like yours, but I don't know how to start. Can you guide me? I said, yes, I'll send advisors. They'll help you recruit. They'll help you train. They'll help you establish operations. Intelligence chief from Southern Africa calls. Captain Traoré, we detected suspicious activity. We think we might have coup plot developing. Can you help us confirm? I said, yes, send me what you have. My analysts will review. We'll tell you what we see. We'll help you decide how to respond. I'm not just sharing information. I'm building network. Informal network of African leaders and intelligence services committed to defending sovereignty. We share intelligence. We exchange methods. We support each other. We coordinate responses. This network operates outside official channels, outside African Union, outside diplomatic systems. Because official systems can be monitored, official channels can be compromised, we need private communication that foreign intelligence can't intercept. We use encrypted platforms, secure phones, coded messages, dead drops when necessary, old-fashioned tradecraft that modern surveillance struggles to penetrate. We meet occasionally, small groups, rotating locations, never announced, never publicized, just leaders who trust each other gathering to share information and coordinate resistance. And I'm helping them, sharing methods, sharing techniques, because this isn't just about Burkina Faso. This is about Africa. This is about sovereignty. I'm sending training teams to 5 countries, intelligence officers from my parallel network. They're conducting week-long courses, teaching surveillance, teaching counterintelligence, teaching operations, teaching everything I learned. I'm sharing my evidence collection methods, how to document meetings, how to record communications, how to track payments, how to build prosecutable cases. I'm sharing my recruitment techniques, how to identify trustworthy people, how to vet candidates, how to test loyalty, how to build reliable networks. I'm sharing my operational security, how to communicate securely, how to fund operations covertly, how to operate without detection, how to protect sources. And African leaders are implementing. They're building their own networks. They're watching for signs. They're detecting plots. They're stopping coups. This is the real victory. Not just stopping my coup, but teaching others to stop theirs. Not just protecting Burkina Faso, but protecting Africa. 3 days after arrests, trials begin. Military tribunal for officers, public trial for civilians, every proceeding broadcast live, every piece of evidence presented publicly. I order complete transparency. Every trial session televised, every piece of evidence shown, every testimony heard. Nothing hidden, nothing secret. Complete public access. Because transparency is protection, because public trials prevent claims of kangaroo courts, because visible evidence prevents accusations of manufacturing charges, because open proceedings prove guilt beyond doubt. The military tribunal convenes first, 5 colonels on trial for treason, military judges, military prosecutors, military defense attorneys, but public gallery, media access, cameras recording. The evidence is overwhelming. Recordings, documents, photographs, bank records, testimony. Prosecution presents methodically. audio recordings of colonels discussing coup plans, video footage of colonels meeting CIA officers, bank records showing payments to colonels' accounts, documents in colonels' handwriting outlining operational plans, testimony from other conspirators confirming their involvement. Each piece of evidence authenticated, each recording verified by audio forensics, each photograph confirmed by digital analysis, each bank record validated by financial institutions, each document examined by handwriting experts. Defense tries claiming entrapment, tries suggesting I manufactured evidence, tries arguing the plot wasn't serious. But evidence destroys every defense. Recordings are authenticated as genuine, photographs are confirmed as unaltered, bank records are verified as accurate, documents are proven as authentic. Testimony is corroborated by multiple sources. Defense tries claiming colonels were conducting counterintelligence operation, pretending to join Coup to expose it. But prosecution shows they never reported anything to authorities, never documented their counterintelligence activities, never warned anyone, because they weren't conducting counterintelligence, they were committing treason. Defense tries claiming colonels were entrapped by my intelligence service, but prosecution shows CIA contacted them first, CIA recruited them, CIA paid them, my intelligence service just watched and documented. That's not entrapment, that's surveillance. Defense tries claiming the plot wasn't serious, just talk, just fantasy, never intended to execute, but prosecution shows detailed operational plans, specific timelines, allocated resources, positioned units. That's not fantasy, that's preparation for execution. Prosecution plays recordings of them planning my assassination, shows bank records of them receiving CIA money, presents photographs of them meeting with American officers. One recording is particularly damning. Colonel discussing exactly how they would kill me. We enter palace at 3 a.m. Presidential guard is minimal. We go directly to his quarters. We shoot him in his bed. Quick. Clean. Done. Another recording shows them dividing money. 2 million for you, 2 million for you, 1 million for you, discussing payment like business transaction, selling their country like commodity. Photographs show them at dead drops, leaving documents in prearranged locations, meeting handlers in safe houses, receiving instructions from CIA officers. The evidence is so overwhelming that even defense attorneys seem defeated. They go through motions, they make required arguments, but they know their clients are guilty. Everyone knows. The tribunal convicts all 5 military officers. Treason, conspiracy, betrayal, life imprisonment, dishonorable discharge, stripped of rank. Sentences are harsh. Maximum penalty, no leniency, no mercy, because treason deserves harshest punishment, because betrayal cannot be forgiven, because selling your country for money is unforgivable crime. I watch the sentencing. I feel no sympathy. These men were going to kill me. They were going to overthrow my government. They were going to sell Burkina Faso to foreign control. They deserve everything they're getting. The court convicts all 15 civilians. Conspiracy to commit treason. Longest sentence 20 years, shortest 8 years, prison time for everyone. Civilian trials follow same pattern. Overwhelming evidence, weak defense, inevitable conviction, different sentences based on level of involvement, but everyone goes to prison. Everyone pays price for betrayal. And I make sure the sentences are served. No early release, no presidential pardon. They betrayed Burkina Faso, they pay for it. I issue presidential decree. Anyone convicted of treason or coup plotting is permanently ineligible for pardon or clemency. Even if future presidents want to release them, they can't. Law forbids it. These traitors will die in prison. Because I want every future conspirator to know. Betray Burkina Faso, and you pay forever. No deals, no mercy, no escape, just prison until death. The 3 CIA officers are already gone, expelled within 24 hours, escorted to airport, put on plane to Accra, banned from ever returning. I personally watch them leave. I go to airport. I watch security forces escort them to plane. I watch them board. I watch plane take off. I make sure they're gone. One officer tries to maintain dignity, walks straight, head up, defiant, pretending this doesn't bother him. But I see his hands shaking. I see his jaw clenched. I see his fear. Another officer tries to negotiate, keeps talking to security forces, keeps offering deals, keeps suggesting arrangements, but security forces ignore him. They have orders, expel him, nothing else. Third officer just looks defeated, shoulders slumped, head down, broken. He knows his career is over. He knows he failed. He knows he's going back to face consequences. I feel nothing watching them leave. No satisfaction, no anger, no emotion. Just certainty that justice is being done, that sovereignty is being protected, that Burkina Faso is being defended. And the American ambassador, I give him 1 week to explain, to apologize, to acknowledge what his embassy did. The international reaction is massive. Some countries support me: Russia, China, Iran, countries that experienced American coup attempts themselves. Russia calls within hours of my broadcast, not through diplomatic channels, direct line, president to president. He says, "Captain Traoré, we watched your address. We have the evidence. We know what they tried. We support you completely. If you need anything, ask." I said, "I need intelligence sharing. I need technical assistance for counter-surveillance. I need economic partnerships that don't come with political conditions." He says, "Done. I'm sending a team next week. They'll bring equipment, they'll share methods, they'll train your personnel. No conditions, no strings. Just partnership between nations that refuse to bow." China calls next day. Foreign Minister, formal but clear. "President Traoré, the People's Republic of China condemns this attempted coup. We recognize Burkina Faso's sovereignty. We stand with you against foreign interference. We're prepared to increase our investment in your country. We're prepared to provide security cooperation. We're prepared to help you build independent systems." I said, "I accept. Send your proposals. But understand something, I'm not trading American control for Chinese control. I'm building Burkina Faso's independence. If you respect that, we can work together." He says, "We respect that. We don't interfere in internal affairs. We don't fund coups. We don't assassinate leaders. We do business. That's all." Iran sends message through their ambassador. "The Islamic Republic stands with Burkina Faso. We know what American coup operations look like. We've survived them for decades. We're willing to share our experience. We're willing to provide support. We're willing to help you resist." I meet their ambassador personally. I said, "I appreciate your support. I need to learn from your experience. How do you detect their operations? How do you protect your government? How do you maintain sovereignty under constant pressure?" He spends 3 hours explaining methods, techniques, lessons learned from 40 years of resisting American interference. I take notes. I ask questions. I learn. These countries support me because they understand. They've been where I am. They've faced what I'm facing. They've survived what I'm surviving. They know the cost of independence. And they respect leaders willing to pay it. Some countries condemn me: United States, Britain, France, countries that benefit from American hegemony. United States issues official statement within 6 hours. State Department spokesperson, carefully worded, diplomatically phrased, completely dishonest. The United States strongly condemns the baseless accusations made by Burkina Faso's government. We categorically deny any involvement in coup plotting. We call for the immediate release of detained American citizens. We demand respect for diplomatic immunity. We warn of serious consequences if this situation is not resolved. I respond immediately, through my own statement. No diplomacy, no careful wording, just truth. The United States calls my accusations baseless. I have 47 minutes of recorded conversations between CIA officers and coup plotters. I have $12 million in traceable payments from CIA accounts. I have photographs of CIA station chief meeting with conspirators. That's not baseless. That's documented fact. Your citizens are not diplomats. They're intelligence officers running coup operations. They don't get immunity. They get expelled. And your consequences don't scare me. I've already survived your coup attempt. What else can you do? Britain issues statement supporting United States. Foreign Office, expressing concern, calling for dialogue, urging restraint. I respond through my foreign minister. Britain expresses concern about detained Americans. Where was Britain's concern when those Americans were planning my assassination? Where was Britain's call for dialogue when CIA was recruiting coup plotters? Where was Britain's restraint when foreign intelligence was trying to overthrow my government? Your concern is selective. Your principles are convenient. Your support for America is predictable. France is more aggressive. They have history in Burkina Faso. They have interests here. They have bases here. They see my resistance as threat to their influence. French foreign minister calls me directly. Angry, demanding, threatening. President Traoré, you're making serious mistakes. You're isolating Burkina Faso. You're damaging important relationships. You're threatening regional stability. We strongly advise you to reconsider this path. Release the Americans, restore diplomatic relations, return to cooperation, or face consequences. I said, consequences? You mean like the consequences of having foreign spies plan my assassination? Like the consequences of losing sovereignty? Like the consequences of being puppet government? Those consequences? He says, you're being unreasonable, you're damaging. I cut him off. I'm being sovereign, and you're not used to that. You're used to African leaders who obey, who comply, who bow. I don't bow, I don't comply. I don't obey, I defend my country. If that damages our relationship, so be it. I'd rather have damaged relationship with France than damaged sovereignty in Burkina Faso. He hangs up. Within days, France announces review of military cooperation, threatens to withdraw troops, suggests reconsidering aid. I respond publicly. France threatens to withdraw troops. Good, withdraw them. We'll defend ourselves. France threatens to reconsider aid. Fine, reconsider it. We'll develop ourselves. France thinks threats will make me comply. They're wrong. Threats make me more determined. These countries condemn me because I threaten their system. I expose their methods. I resist their control. I prove that African leaders can say no. And if other African leaders see me succeed, they might say no too. That's what they fear. That's why they condemn me. That's why they threaten me. Some countries stay silent. Most of Africa, most of Asia, countries that want to support me but fear American retaliation. I understand their silence. I don't judge it. I know the pressure they face. I know the threats they receive. I know the fear they feel. But their silence hurts, because it shows how effective American intimidation is, because it proves how deep the fear runs, because it demonstrates how complete the control remains. I receive private messages, though, dozens of them, from presidents, from prime ministers, from foreign ministers, all saying the same thing. We support you privately. We admire your courage. We wish we could say publicly what we're saying privately. But we can't. Our economies depend on American aid. Our security depends on American support. Our governments depend on American approval. We can't risk what you're risking, but we're watching, we're learning. We're hoping you succeed. One African president calls me. Late at night, secure line, voice quiet, almost whispering. He says, Captain Traoré, I watched your address. I saw the evidence. I believe you. I support you. But I can't say it publicly. America provides 60% of our budget. If I support you, they'll cut our aid. My government will collapse. My people will suffer. I can't risk that. I said, I understand. I don't blame you. But understand something. Your dependence is their leverage. Your aid is their control. Your budget is their weapon. As long as you depend on them, you'll never be free. As long as they fund you, they'll always threaten you. As long as you need them, you'll never resist them. He's quiet for a long moment. Then he says, you're right, but what choice do I have? How do I break dependence when my country is poor? How do I resist when my people are hungry? How do I fight when I have no weapons? I said, the same way I'm fighting. Build your own systems. Develop your own economy. Create your own independence. It's hard. It's painful. It's risky. But it's the only way, because their aid is not help, it's control, and control dressed up as assistance is still control. He says, I hope you succeed. I hope you prove it's possible. Because if you do, maybe I'll have courage to try. That conversation represents dozens of others, African leaders who want to support me but can't. Asian leaders who admire my resistance but fear consequences. Latin American leaders who understand my fight but lack strength to join it. Their silence is not betrayal, it's fear, it's pressure, it's the reality of American power, and I don't judge them for it, but I hope my success gives them courage. I hope my resistance inspires their resistance. I hope my independence proves their independence is possible. But the evidence speaks for itself. I released everything, every document, every recording, available online, downloadable, verifiable. I created a website, dedicated entirely to the coup evidence, organized by category, searchable, translated into multiple languages, accessible to anyone anywhere. Audio recording section, 47 minutes of conversations between CIA officers and coup plotters, time-stamped, transcribed, verified by independent audio analysts. Anyone can listen. Anyone can verify. Anyone can confirm. Financial documents section. Bank transfer records showing $12 million from CIA shell companies to conspirator accounts. Account numbers, transfer dates, amounts, source institutions, destination institutions, all documented, all verifiable through banking systems. Photographic evidence section. Hundreds of photographs, CIA officers meeting conspirators, dead drop locations, safe houses, planning sessions, all date stamped, all location tagged, all authenticated by forensic analysis. Operational plans section. The actual documents conspirators created, timeline for coup, unit movements, target buildings, arrest lists, communication protocols, all in their own handwriting, all authenticated. Communication intercepts section. Encrypted messages between conspirators, decoded, translated, analyzed, showing coordination, showing planning, showing CIA direction. I don't just release it. I make it impossible to ignore. I make it easy to verify. I make it simple to understand. Because I want everyone to see. I want everyone to know. I want everyone to learn. Within 24 hours, the website gets 10 million visits. Within 1 week, 50 million. Within 1 month, over 200 million people have accessed the evidence. And people are studying it. Analysts, journalists, researchers, everyone examining how CIA coup operations work. Everyone learning the methods. Intelligence analysts from universities worldwide download the documents. They write papers. They publish studies. They teach courses using my evidence as case study. CIA coup operations in Africa, the Burkina Faso case becomes required reading in security studies programs. Journalists from major outlets analyze the recordings. They verify authenticity. They confirm details. They trace the money. Even outlets that initially dismissed my claims eventually confirm the evidence is real. Burkina Faso coup plot, evidence appears authentic, runs in major newspapers. Researchers create detailed timelines. They map the network. They identify patterns. They compare with historical coups. They find similarities. They discover the playbook is consistent across decades and countries. CIA coup methodology, patterns and practices becomes widely cited research. Independent investigators verify everything. Audio forensics confirm recordings are authentic. Financial analysts trace money to CIA shell companies. Photographic experts authenticate images. Handwriting analysts confirm documents. Every element verified by independent sources. This is bigger than stopping one coup. This is exposing the entire apparatus. This is showing Africa how these operations work. This is teaching African leaders how to detect them. African intelligence services download everything. They study the methods. They learn the patterns. They identify the warning signs. They build their own detection capabilities based on my evidence. I receive requests from 15 African countries. They want training. They want to learn how I built my intelligence network. They want to understand how I detected the plot. They want to know how I documented everything. I send teams, intelligence officers from my parallel network. They travel to these countries. They conduct training. They share methods. They teach techniques, not officially, not publicly, quietly, discreetly, but effectively. They teach how to build parallel intelligence networks, how to recruit trustworthy personnel, how to fund operations through untraceable channels, how to operate without official government knowledge. They teach how to detect recruitment attempts, how to identify officers with sudden wealth, how to track unexplained foreign contacts, how to monitor suspicious meetings. They teach how to conduct surveillance without detection, how to plant listening devices, how to intercept communications, how to photograph meetings, how to document evidence. They teach how to build legal cases, how to collect admissible evidence, how to maintain chain of custody, how to prepare for prosecution. And African countries are learning, they're implementing, they're succeeding. 2 months after arrests, something remarkable happens. 4 other African countries announce they've detected and stopped coup plots, using methods similar to mine, using intelligence networks they built. Mali announces first. Their president addresses the nation. We detected and stopped a coup plot. 8 conspirators arrested. Foreign intelligence funding confirmed. Evidence documented. Trials beginning next week. I call him immediately. Mr. President, congratulations. How did you detect it? He says, we used your methods. We built parallel intelligence network. We watched for the signs you identified. We documented everything like you taught us. And when we had proof, we struck. Just like you did. I said, I'm proud of you. You protected your country. You defended your sovereignty. You proved it's possible. He says, I learned from you. You showed us it could be done. You gave us courage to try. Thank you. Chad announces next. Their president is more aggressive. Military background like me. He doesn't just announce arrests. He releases evidence. Just like I did. 12 conspirators arrested. Foreign funding traced. Evidence published online. Anyone can verify. Anyone can see. We're not hiding anything. I call him. Strong move releasing evidence publicly. He says, I learned from you. Transparency is weapon. Evidence is protection. If everyone can see proof, no one can deny truth. I'm following your playbook. I said, good. Keep following it. Keep documenting. Keep exposing. Keep fighting. Guinea announces third. Quieter approach. Less public. But effective. 6 conspirators arrested. Foreign involvement suspected. Investigation continuing. I call their president. Why so quiet? Why not release evidence? He says, different situation, different pressures, different approach, but same result. Coup stopped. Sovereignty protected, independence maintained. I said, fair enough. Every country has different circumstances. Important thing is you stopped it. You protected your people. You maintained control. Niger announces last. Their president is youngest, most progressive, most tech-savvy. He doesn't just release evidence. He creates interactive database. 10 conspirators arrested. Evidence database launched. Search by name, date, transaction, meeting, complete transparency, total access. I call him impressive database, better than mine. He laughs. I learned from you. Then I improved. That's how progress works. Each generation builds on previous. You showed it's possible. I'm showing it can be better. I said, exactly right. Keep improving. Keep innovating. Keep advancing. Make my methods obsolete by creating better ones. Mali arrests 8 conspirators. Chad arrests 12. Guinea arrests 6. Niger arrests 10. All funded by foreign intelligence services. All planning coups. All stopped before execution. The pattern is clear. The resistance is spreading. African leaders are fighting back. And I'm coordinating it. Not officially, not publicly, but effectively. I'm creating informal network of African leaders committed to defending sovereignty. We share intelligence. We exchange methods. We support each other. We communicate through secure channels, encrypted, untraceable, independent of official diplomatic systems. Because official systems can be monitored, official channels can be compromised. We need private communication that foreign intelligence can't intercept. We meet occasionally, small groups, rotating locations, never announced, never publicized, just presidents who trust each other gathering to share information and coordinate resistance. We're building continental counterintelligence capability, not through African Union, not through official institutions, through informal network of committed leaders, more flexible, more secure, more effective. And CIA is losing, not just in Burkina Faso, across the continent, because I exposed their playbook, because I showed how to defeat them. Their coup operations are failing, in Mali, in Chad, in Guinea, in Niger, in countries they won't admit they're operating in, because we're detecting them, because we're stopping them, because we're learning faster than they're adapting. Their recruitment is failing. Officers they approach are reporting to us. Collaborators they try to buy are documenting the attempts. Networks they try to build are infiltrated by our agents. Their funding is failing. We're tracking their money. We're freezing their accounts. We're seizing their payments. We're making it expensive and risky to fund coups. Their operations are failing. We're arresting their officers. We're expelling their personnel. We're closing their safe houses. We're dismantling their infrastructure. And they're panicking. Station chiefs are being recalled. Operations are being suspended. Budgets are being cut. Because failure is expensive. Because exposure is costly. Because resistance is working. Listen to me, every African leader. Build your own intelligence networks. Don't rely on official services that can be infiltrated. Create parallel systems reporting only to you. Fund them through channels that can't be traced. I'm telling you exactly how I did it. I'm sharing every method. I'm revealing every technique, because I want you to succeed, because I want Africa to be free, because I want us to control our own continent. Start with recruitment. Find people you trust absolutely, people whose loyalty is unquestionable, people who will die before betraying you. Not many people meet this standard, but you only need a few. 5 trusted people can build a network of hundreds. I started with 3: my childhood friend, my former military instructor, my cousin who saved my life during previous coup attempt. 3 people I trust with my life, 3 people who trust me with theirs. They recruited others. People they trusted, people they vetted, people they knew. Each recruit was tested, each recruit was verified, each recruit proved loyalty before being trusted with sensitive work. Within 6 months I had a network of 50 people, within 1 year 200, within 2 years 500, all operating in shadows, all reporting through secure channels, all loyal to Burkina Faso. Funded independently. Don't use government budgets. Don't go through official channels. Create private funding that can't be traced or audited or controlled by others. I used multiple sources: personal wealth from before presidency, donations from loyal business people, profits from state enterprises I controlled directly, money that flows outside official systems, money that can't be frozen or seized or monitored. I established accounts in multiple countries, small amounts in many places rather than large amounts in few places, harder to track, harder to freeze, harder to control. I used cash for operations, untraceable, unfreezable, simple, old-fashioned, but effective. Digital transactions leave records, cash doesn't. Train them properly. Don't assume they know what to do. Teach them, train them, prepare them. I brought in experts, intelligence professionals from friendly countries, people who know surveillance, people who know counterintelligence, people who know operations. They trained my network, surveillance techniques, counter-surveillance methods, communication security, evidence documentation, legal procedures, everything needed to operate effectively. I invested in equipment, listening devices, cameras, recording equipment, secure communications, analysis software, everything needed to gather and process intelligence. And I tested them constantly. Simulated operations, practice surveillance, mock arrests, everything rehearsed before real operations, because mistakes in training are lessons, mistakes in real operations are disasters. Watch for the signs: military officers with sudden wealth, politicians with unexplained foreign connections, civil society groups with suspicious funding. These are recruitment targets. These are potential conspirators. I created checklist. Warning signs that indicate possible recruitment. My intelligence network monitors for these constantly. Sudden wealth. Officer making $40,000 annually suddenly buying luxury car. Politician with modest salary suddenly sending children to expensive foreign schools. Civil society leader with small budget suddenly expanding operations dramatically. All warning signs. Unexplained foreign travel. Officer taking frequent trips to neighboring capitals. Politician meeting with foreign diplomats privately. Activist attending overseas conferences with unclear funding. All suspicious. Changed behavior. Officer becoming secretive about activities. Politician avoiding normal social circles. Activist expressing sudden anti-government views. All potential indicators. New associations. Officer befriending foreign embassy personnel. Politician meeting with known intelligence operatives. Activist receiving funding from organizations linked to foreign governments. All red flags. When my network spots these signs, they investigate, they surveil, they document, they build profiles, they determine if person is being recruited or has been recruited or is innocent. Document everything, record meetings, track payments, photograph contacts, build cases before you move, because when you strike, you need overwhelming evidence. This is critical. This is what makes prosecution possible. This is what makes exposure credible. This is what prevents them from denying everything. I required my network to document everything. Every surveillance operation recorded, every meeting photographed, every payment tracked, every communication intercepted. I established evidence standards, chain of custody maintained, time and location stamps verified, multiple sources confirming, independent verification where possible. I created secure storage, evidence backed up in multiple locations, encrypted, protected, accessible only to me and handful of trusted personnel. Because evidence is everything. Without evidence, accusations are just claims. With evidence, accusations are facts. With overwhelming evidence, accusations are undeniable truth. Strike decisively. When you detect a plot, don't wait, don't negotiate. Strike fast, arrest everyone simultaneously, secure all evidence, show no mercy. Timing is critical. Strike too early, you don't have complete network identified. Strike too late, they execute before you stop them. Strike at right moment, you catch everyone before they can act. I struck 48 hours before their planned coup. They thought they had time, they thought they were still preparing, they thought they were safe, they were wrong. Coordination is critical, simultaneous arrests. Everyone grabbed at same time, no one escapes, no one warns others, no one destroys evidence. I had forces positioned at every location, all moving at exact same time, all striking within 30-minute window, all coordinated through secure communications. Speed is critical, fast arrests, quick securing of evidence, immediate control of locations, no time for resistance, no opportunity for escape, no chance for destruction of evidence. My forces trained for this, rehearsed for this, prepared for this. When execution came, it was smooth, professional, complete. Expose publicly, don't handle it quietly. Release all evidence, show the world what they tried, prove the conspiracy. This is what protects you. This is what prevents them from retaliating. This is what makes your case undeniable. I released everything within hours, before they could organize denial, before they could create counter-narrative, before they could pressure me to stay quiet. I made evidence accessible, easy to find, easy to verify, easy to understand, because I wanted everyone to see, I wanted everyone to know, I wanted truth to be undeniable. And build your own systems. Don't depend on American technology. Don't trust Western intelligence services. Build African systems. Train African personnel. Trust African loyalty. This is long-term solution. This is permanent protection. This is real independence. I'm investing in African technology, African software, African hardware, African platforms, not because African technology is better, but because African technology is ours. We control it. We understand it. We trust it. I'm training African personnel, African intelligence officers, African analysts, African operators, not because African personnel are superior, but because African personnel are loyal to Africa. They serve African interests. They protect African sovereignty. I'm building African systems, African networks, African capabilities, African independence, because that's the only way to be truly free, because that's the only way to be truly secure, because that's the only way to be truly sovereign. We can protect ourselves. We can detect their plots. We can stop their coups, but only if we're vigilant, only if we're prepared, only if we're willing to fight. And we are vigilant. We are prepared. We are willing to fight. Listen to me, CIA, American intelligence, everyone planning coups in Africa. We're watching, we're learning, we're adapting, we're building networks you can't penetrate. We're developing methods you can't counter. Right now, while you're reading this, my intelligence network is operating in 17 African countries, monitoring your activities, tracking your officers, identifying your collaborators, documenting your operations. You think you're operating in secret. You think your safe houses are secure. You think your communications are encrypted. You're wrong on all counts. I have agents inside your recruitment pipeline. When you approach a military officer, I know within hours. When you make a payment, I track it within days. When you hold a planning meeting, I have recordings within weeks. I have technology you don't expect. Not American technology, not Western systems, Russian counter-surveillance equipment, Chinese signal intelligence platforms, Iranian encryption-breaking software, technology you're not trained to detect because you're trained to detect Western technology. I have methods you don't anticipate, not textbook intelligence operations, not standard procedures, African methods, adapted to African context, refined through African experience, effective against American tactics because they're designed specifically to counter American tactics. You're operating with 20th century playbook in 21st century Africa. You're using methods that worked in the 1,960 seconds against leaders who studied those methods. You're repeating patterns that we've analyzed and learned to defeat. Your recruitment approach is predictable. You identify disgruntled officers. You approach them through intermediaries. You offer money and promises. You build relationship gradually. You extract intelligence before making demands. You wait until they're compromised before revealing true agenda. I know this pattern. I teach my officers to recognize it. I train them to report it. I reward them for exposing it. Your recruitment attempts become my intelligence gathering opportunities. Your funding mechanisms are traceable. You use shell companies. You route money through multiple banks. You make payments in cash when possible. You think this obscures the source. I track it anyway. I have banking relationships you don't know about. I have financial intelligence you don't expect. I have cooperation from countries you think oppose me. Your money leaves trails. I follow those trails. I identify your collaborators through your payments. Your operational security is flawed. You think encrypted communications are safe. You think secure phones are unbreakable. You think your tradecraft is superior. I break your encryption. I intercept your calls. I penetrate your security, not because my technology is better, because I have access to technology you don't expect me to have. Because I have partnerships you don't know I have. Because I have capabilities you underestimate. Your playbook is exposed. Your methods are known. Your operations are failing. I published your operational manual. The one you use for African coups. The one you think is classified. The one you've used for 60 years. I obtained it. I translated it. I published it online. Anyone can read it now. Anyone can learn your methods. Anyone can recognize your operations. I exposed your shell companies, the ones you use for funding, the ones registered in Delaware and Panama and Cayman Islands. I traced them to CIA. I documented the connections. I published the evidence. Anyone can verify it now. Anyone can track your money. Anyone can identify your funding sources. I revealed your safe houses, the ones in Accra and Abidjan and Dakar, the ones you think are secret, the ones you use for meetings and planning. I identified them. I photographed them. I published the addresses. Anyone can find them now. Anyone can monitor them. Anyone can watch who enters and exits. I identified your officers, the ones operating under diplomatic cover, the ones pretending to be embassy staff, the ones actually running operations. I documented their real roles. I published their photographs. I exposed their activities. Anyone can recognize them now. Anyone can avoid them. Anyone can report their recruitment attempts. Your operations are failing because they're no longer secret. Your methods are failing because they're no longer unknown. Your tactics are failing because they're no longer effective against leaders who know what to expect. You tried to overthrow me. I destroyed your operation. You tried to install puppet government. I arrested your collaborators. You tried to maintain control. I broke your system. And every element of your operation is now case study. Universities teach it. Intelligence services study it. African leaders learn from it. Your failure in Burkina Faso educates the entire continent about how to defeat you. I documented everything: the initial recruitment attempts, the funding transfers, the planning meetings, the operational timeline, the execution attempt, the arrests, the evidence, the trials, the convictions, everything. I created training materials from your operation, video recordings of your officers recruiting collaborators, audio of your planning meetings, photographs of your safe houses, copies of your operational plans, financial records of your payments. Everything you tried to keep secret is now teaching material. I distribute these materials to African intelligence services. They study your methods. They learn your patterns. They recognize your tactics. They train their personnel to detect and defeat your operations. I conduct workshops for African leaders. I show them your playbook. I teach them your methods. I train them to recognize your recruitment attempts. I share my counterintelligence techniques. I help them build their own networks. 23 African countries have requested my assistance. I've sent teams to 17. I've trained over 500 intelligence officers. I've helped establish 12 parallel intelligence networks. I've shared everything I know about defeating your operations. And I'm not alone. Leaders across Africa are doing the same, building networks, detecting plots, stopping coups. Mali's president built his network using my methods. When CIA approached his defense minister, the minister reported it immediately. When they tried to fund opposition groups, he tracked the money. When they planned their coup, he documented everything. When they prepared to strike, he arrested them all, just like I did. Chad's president improved on my methods. He built larger network. He deployed better technology. He created more sophisticated analysis. When CIA operated in his country, he detected them faster than I detected them. He stopped them more completely than I stopped them. He exposed them more thoroughly than I exposed them. Guinea's president adapted my methods to his context. He faced different challenges. He had different resources. He operated in different circumstances, but he applied the same principles. Build parallel network, monitor for recruitment, document everything, strike decisively, expose publicly, and he succeeded. Niger's president innovated beyond my methods. He created digital intelligence platform. He automated pattern recognition. He used artificial intelligence to analyze communications. He built 21st century counterintelligence capability, and he's sharing it with other African countries. We're not just copying each other, we're improving on each other, we're learning from each other, we're building on each other's successes. We're creating continental counterintelligence capability that's becoming more sophisticated with each iteration. Your era of easy regime change in Africa is ending. Your time of unopposed coup operations is over.